So right now I'm preparing the colours to make a cane, which is a cabbage cane, but it's not an ordinary cabbage cane, it's an ornamental cabbage. So that's why this weird, very dark, very deep pink, which is kind of a raspberry colour mix. You will see raspberry ornamental cabbages in all sorts of colour ways, but this deep sort of raspberry colour is one of the common ones, and they vary from various pinks through to purples generally, although I have seen some orangey colours come in. Right, so I'm not going to make a very big cane in this case because I don't want to, normally I would work big like this, but I don't want to overdo it because it would just take too long. So I'll take most of the material away. And anybody who doesn't know how to make a Skinner shade technique, to do the Skinner shade technique, I'm sure I've done it somewhere else on another video, so you just have to look out for that, but you'll see it as we go along anyway. So I need to make 2 sets of Skinner shades. One goes from pink to a sort of pale green, which is really more of an off-white. So if you look in my colour book, you'll find it's the foundation colour mix, which is an off-white, I believe, the creamy colour anyway, and just a touch of green. Obviously I've made that too big. Just a touch of green, just to take the brightness of it. But all of these colours are about 60% translucent. So I want to make 2 different Skinner shades, and I want that to go all the way to cream, and that will go all the way to pink, hopefully to that nice solid pink. Then the next colour transformation will be the same green, this time going to a darker green. So I'll take that off. So light green going to a darker green. I've prepared these colours in advance. This darker green is Cernit. So it's Cernit's olive colour, which is a favourite of mine. I do like Cernit particularly for very delicate items, and when we're doing the edges of these cabbages, they do become quite delicate because it has quite a lot of strength. Right. So that's on top of that. It doesn't matter, it doesn't fit completely because I can just bring this over it, because all that's happening here is you're going from one colour to another colour, and so if it overlaps a bit, it doesn't matter. Right, so we still want to go all the way to that very light green, so I'm just going to cut that off there so that we go all the way into that light green. I don't want this, I don't want there to be a situation where this one jumps between this colour transformation to that colour transformation. I don't want it to jump a great deal. I want it to go through the same colour, so through this light green. Okay, so now I'm going to have to set up the pasta machine. I often get asked which pasta machine I prefer to use. Now in my office I've got a very big pasta machine, which the name of which I can't remember, but it's really not important to you because they don't sell them anymore. They stopped manufacturing them about 12 years ago, something like that, so you can't get it now. So in my own workshop, because I work on such big canes, I would always use a bigger pasta machine, and actually I need to buy a new one now. And for carrying to classes, I buy this one, which is called a Mercato Atlas 150. It says wellness on it for some reason. I don't know what makes it particularly well. Maybe it's the lovely bright blue colour. But you can get them in all different colours, which is something I quite like because I can divide my classes up into families, which I often do, and each family can have a different colour pasta machine. But the good thing about this pasta machine is it's both good quality and lightweight. And the rollers are set at a nice steady roll, and you can pretty much predict what the rollers will do when you change the size of them. I'm going to work on the second size up, which is 1. Obviously the biggest size is 0, so 1 is the next one along. I tend to do my Skinner shade on a fairly big one, especially in classes. For some reason my camera's not, there it goes. Right, so I'm going to work on one of these at a time. Some people do their whole shade in one with a V in the middle. But because I'm making canes for cabbages and I want a fairly big cane, and this still is a fairly big cane even though I've cut it down, I need to do it in 2 halves, and I want a very definite crossover between the colours. So the Skinner shade technique, for anybody who doesn't know, relies on the fact that this side is going to mix all this colour, this side is going to mix all this colour. This is a very brief description of it, and in the middle at any point it's going to have varying degrees of each colour in it, and you'll see this better just by me doing it. Whoop. Put quite a lot of pressure on this so the tabletop's moving. You must always fold your material in the same way. So in the same direction. So it's always going folded this way. Never turn it round and do it that way. It's always got to be in the same direction. As you get started, you'll see that the colours starting to come through, but they look a bit messy at first. But don't worry about that, that's perfectly normal. And you can fold it once or twice as you wish. Just get this tabletop fixed so that it doesn't bang like that. And I'm trying to mind the tabletop. I've actually put that through at a funny angle. But don't worry about that, as long as you keep those lines straight. This one will compensate for that one. This curve will compensate for that curve. And there are several little problems that can come up when you're making a Skinner shade. I call them wayward Skinner shades, and they start to misbehave. And I've done a demonstration of that, which I haven't put out yet, but hopefully I'll get a chance to over the next few weeks. Now I'm on Patreon, I feel more comfortable to get stuff made as I feel like it and put it out when it's ready, instead of concentrating on one thing to the exclusion of all others, which is always a shame when you've got a creative idea that you don't have time to do. So I can stop when I like and do what I like, and you'll get it in the end, knowing you'll get it in the end. So as you can see, that shade is coming really nicely through. We're getting a bit of dirt out of the pasta machine. Usually I don't worry too much about that because it just blends in, as long as you're not working with a really, really light colour that really can't take any blending in. Right, so that's quite a good shade. So I'll get on with the other one. I'll have to tighten that up because otherwise it's going to misbehave again and again. Normally I don't have to hold my pasta machine down in my workshop. It feels a little bit odd to me. I've got a little bit of the pink coming through. Particles of clay often get stuck in your machine, especially if your clay is shredding like this. So this shade is actually behaving itself rather too well. So you can push it in as often as you like. Keep the lines lined up. So let's work on one of these at a time. So the next thing to... Oh, I say we're done with the pasta machine. That was rather silly. We aren't done with the pasta machine. What I have to do is put this through the pasta machine again. In fact, I'm going to fold it into 3 because I want a narrow ribbon, but I happen to want this ribbon at a certain width, and that's approximately the width that I want it. You can see that it doesn't go all the way down there. I'm going to actually cut that little bit off. I'm not worried about the bit that's missing, but this bit would tend to push into the light green, spoiling the colour. And I'll do the same with the green one as well. I'll take this one through first. So through on the same setting, and then I'll take the setting down one to setting number 2 and put it through again. This is to make the ribbon of clay a bit longer, and I'll explain why in a minute. In fact, I'm going down again to number 3. Right, just lay my ribbon out there. And I'll go back to 1 for the first run through of this one. And then I'll go straight on to 3. There's a little bit of shredding there and a tiny bit of green's got into the mix. So I'll just get that off. You shouldn't notice any really tiny bits in the finished work. Right, on 3. In fact, I'll just check there's no shredded material underneath. There we go. Right, so we've got 2 ribbons of clay and a few little bits in them. But I'll deal with those in a moment. Right, now we really are done with that pasta machine. So, in my cane, the middle of the cabbage leaf is going to be pink, and the outside edge of the cabbage leaf is going to be green, going through the cream in the middle. So I've taken this messy bit off because it's quite dark anyway, and it's got some pasta machine muck on it. So the first thing that I want to do is to pile this up. First of all, I'm getting rid of, I'll turn it round so you can see better. I'm getting rid of any air between the sections. So I'm folding the ribbon. It's difficult to show on video because my arm's right in the air, and so probably always in front of the camera. But anyway, we'll try. Always trying to get rid of the air between the sections. Because it's so sticky, if you stick down the edges first, if you stick the outer edges down, you can never get rid of the air because it's all stuck inside the cane. As I'm going up, this is narrowing off a bit, but I can deal with that later. This is where it starts to change to the other colour. And that's a fairly big jump. It's only gone through 2 folds for the light pink. And so it's gone there by quite a big jump. I'm not particularly happy with that, but I think I'll just tear that off there and start to pile it up again from the other. No, that doesn't really help, does it? No. I'm not particularly happy with that jump. I'd like it to have been a bit of a smoother transition. But anyway, but I'm happy to cut that off because it's messy, so I don't really need that problem in the middle there. So I'm just pressing again to make sure I get as much of the air out of the edges as possible. And we've got a little bit of a bend there. I've made this clay quite sticky, so I may have to finish off the video tomorrow when the clay's had a chance to just settle, because the weather's very warm here in Andalusia today. So I hope you can see that nice shade. There's it on the other side. And now we're going to do the other one. So we're starting obviously on this cream end, and I'm going to get rid of that messy bit again. I'll go for that messy bit as well. I had a class not so long ago with a group called the Bellinistas. They're a group, they weren't called that, but they were Bellinistas, which means that they make nativity scenes. And one of the girls came along with bright red nail varnish, which of course stuck right to the clay. And so I let one of the group in on the joke and played something a little bit like Cluedo to find out who was responsible for the clay with the red marks on. Now I've made these 2 different sizes. It's best to make them one size, but it's one of those little things that I sometimes do by accident. And all I have to do is to take this back down to a sort of rectangular, well, what do you call a like a rectangular prism, a rectangular cube thing. I really don't know the terminology for that, so that they fit together. So I'm just making those fit nicely together. And now you can see that there's a nice blend between all those colours. Now, what I want to do is I want to form this into a shape where this goes up a bit in the middle. So I'm going to just put my finger in the middle and start to pull it round a bit so that this outside colour comes round the pink just a little bit. I should have brought a, sometimes I use a, what's it called? A wooden stick, a dowel. So I'm just bringing this together to make this more of a curved shape. And I want this to be as near as anything to a cylinder, a slightly elongated cylinder. So I'm now bringing this green around the top. Now I've done one of the big no-nos here, and I should be ashamed of myself. And what I've done is I've used materials of two different softnesses, and the pink is a lot softer than the green. So it might actually help me a little bit in this situation. If you see some of my old videos, I don't show you this curving round. My old books, I haven't shown you this curving round technique, but I think it does make a better leaf, whether it's an ordinary cabbage or one of these ornamental cabbages. It does make a better gradation in the leaf to curl that inner colour in. Now, if at any time you see any air appearing, cut diagonally, let the air out and press it down. We will be finding some air in the cane a little bit later. So that's the cane to that point.